Welcome back, ELA Masters. We're going to go over our annotations. You did such a great job on your 2 planners. But first, can you tell me, were both of these texts, passage 1, Tanya makes a move, and passage 2, Tanya's treasure hunt, first person or third person point of view? Show me with your hands. Yes, third person point of view. Give me some high fives. Right. In both texts, the narrator used the characters' names and pronouns like she or he or they. So I know that the narrator was an outside narrator who was watching from the outside, and they were not a character in the story. My planners are going to look a little bit different from yours since I had to fit them on one page, but make sure that you have both of your SURY planners from each passage to go over our annotations. Let's look at passage 1. Tanya makes a move. Right away, I see my main character, Tanya Turtle. And just from my first couple sentences, I can tell that she's living in a new neighborhood that's no longer her home in Happy Harbor. So I added that to my planner. Our new main character is Tanya, and our setting is in Tanya's new home. Make sure that you pause your video to double check that now. Great. Scholars, I also highlighted that Tanya was shy and that she really wished that she had friends to play with around her new home. But talking to others that she doesn't know makes her feel nervous. She feels nervous. I know that feelings is a form of character perspective. Remember that perspective is the way one thinks or feels about another character or situation. Let's add that to our planner. So Tanya's character trait is that she is shy. And her perspective is that she feels nervous talking to others. What is Tanya like? She is really shy. What is her perspective? She feels nervous about talking to others. Go ahead and pause the video and add that to your planner if you don't have it already. Great. Now, ELA Masters, let's go ahead and add that to our Google form. So who is the main character in this story? And spoiler alert, although you probably already know, in passage 2, our main character was Tanya. And what was her character perspective in the beginning of the story? Well, she feels nervous about talking to others. If you need to, pause your video to write that down now. Great. Let's keep going over our texts. So she ended up seeing a school of fish and other animals swim by. And again, she really wants friends, but talking to people makes her feel nervous. It says, though, that she still really wanted to meet them. Scholars, that sounds like our problem. That Tanya really wants friends, but she's unsure about meeting other new animals because she feels nervous about talking to others. This sounds like an internal conflict. She's unsure of what to do on the inside. If you need to, double check what we wrote in our problem. Let's keep going. So she's really nervous to talk to this group of animals, but she does have some ways that she tries to solve her internal conflict. She keeps telling herself that it might be okay, but then she couldn't make herself swim towards them. But then after a few minutes, she decides to do it. Let's add that to our planner. Even though she's nervous, that's her character perspective about talking to others, and she's unsure about meeting them, she still tells herself that it might be okay talking to these new animals, and eventually decides to say hi to the new animals. If you haven't yet, write that in your STORY planner. Great. Now, scholars, check out these 2 attempts to resolve and pick one to write down in your planner. I'm going to write down, decide to say hi to new animals. What was one way the main character tried to solve her problem? She decides to say hi to the new animals. If you need to, pause your video so you can type that in now. Great. Let's see what happened next. So again, she was really nervous to say hi to them and swam slowly and spoke in a quiet voice, but the group ended up swimming over to her and saying hi. And they ended up being really nice. In the end, Tanya was excited to have new friends, and I highlighted she was glad that she took the first step to meet her new friends. What do we think, scholars? Did her attempt to resolve work? Right. The solution was that those new animals became her friends. And it seems like Tanya's perspective about talking to others changed from the beginning to the end. At first, she was nervous about talking to others, but now she feels glad that she took that first step. ELA Masters, can you tell me, what lesson do you think Tanya learned? Yes, I agree. If you wrote something about how Tanya learned that things worked out well for her when she took that first step, even though it was scary, show me a yes. Remember, as a good reader, I need to make sure that that lesson the main character learns applies to the whole world. So I'm going to think, what is the theme? How can I apply what Tanya learned to my world? Because I don't know about you scholars, but I'm not friends with fish like that. Well, because Tanya took a step in doing something that she thought was scary and she was nervous about, but she still achieved her motivation, I can learn from that you have to take risks sometimes in order to get a reward. ELA Masters, if you need to pause your videos and make sure that you update that T box and you add in the why to what you already wrote in your planners, go ahead and do so now. Let's add this to my Google form. Our theme is, if you take risks, you can be rewarded. If you need to, pause your video to write that in now. Nice work, friends. Now, let's check our STORY planners for passage 2. I'm seeing in my first paragraph already our characters, Tanya and her friends. And it looks like They were thinking of going to Pirates Bay, our setting. Let's double check that we had that in our planners. Our characters were Tanya and her friends, and the setting of this story or this passage took place in Pirates Bay. If you need to, pause your video to type that in now. Good. Then I highlighted that although Tanya really wanted to go, she was a little scared. It sounds like another one of Tanya's character perspectives. You've got it. So, Tanya feels scared but wants to go with her friends to Pirates Bay. If you don't have this in your planner for passage 2, make sure you pause your video and write it in now. Great. Ooh, but then it says that her friend said that they had been to Pirates Bay and that there was actually nothing to be afraid of. It seems like Tanya's friends are really supportive and pretty adventurous. Let's add those character traits to Tanya's friends. Great. And because of her friends, Tanya decides to change her mind. Her perspective changed from being a little scared to trusting her friends because they said there's nothing to be afraid of, and she decided to go. But then when they set off, it looks like they looked everywhere, but they still couldn't find any treasure. That sounds like a problem. Again, Tanya feels better about going when they say it's not scary, but when they looked all over for the treasure, they couldn't find any. Let's make sure that we add those to our planners. Tanya decides to go when her friends say that Pirate Bay isn't that scary. They wanted to find the treasure and looked all over, but it didn't work. They can't find the treasure. Let's go ahead and add this problem to our Google form. What was the problem in the story? They want to find the treasure, but can't. If you need to, pause your video to add that now. That sounds like kind of a bummer, scholars. Let's see what happens next. So it looks like they were about to turn back until Omar tries to get the group to keep going. And he said, maybe we should look at the map a different way. Scholars, what does that tell you about what Omar is like? Tell me. Yes, if you wrote something in your planner about how Omar is or has self-determination, does not like to give up, or is determined, show me a yes. Great. Let's go ahead and add that character trait of Omar's, that he's very determined, to our Google form. He does not want to give up. He is very determined. Let's see if it pays off. So he ended up convincing his friends to try it again, and this time they swam in the other direction. Sounds like an attempt to resolve. If you need to, make sure that you add that attempt to resolve in your STORY planners. Good. They swam in the other direction and ended up finding a chest full of gold coins and strings of candy pearls. What do you think, ELA Masters? Did these scholars, I'm pretty sure you guys don't live in the sea. Did these animals achieve their motivation? Agree? Yes, they found the treasure. So this attempt to resolve, after they were almost going to give up, they swam in the other direction, and that did work. As a result, Tanya and her friends found candy and found that treasure. If you need to, pause your video and make sure that you have that in your planners. Great. Let's keep reading to see what happens next. Well, this sounds like a happy ending, and I also highlighted this piece of evidence at the end, where Tanya thought to herself, I'm so glad we kept trying. What a great adventure this turned out to be. So at first, Tanya started off being scared, but she wanted to go with her friends to Pirates Bay, and she and her friends were about to give up, but because they didn't, they found the treasure. It sounds like Tanya's character perspective, what she thinks or feels, is that now at the end of the story, she feels glad that they kept trying. Make sure you write that important detail in your T box. Now, readers, what do you think Tanya learned after she knew that they found that treasure only because they kept trying? Tell me. Yes, I agreed. When they didn't give up, they were able to achieve their motivation of finding that yummy treasure. And ELA Masters, you know how Miss Yabut loves chocolate. If I found a treasure chest full of chocolate gold coins, that would be awesome. And it's all because they did not give up. So I think a great theme that fits this story is to never give up. If you need to, make sure that you pause your video and write all of our important details in the Y box now. Good. Let's add this theme to our Google form. What was the theme of passage 2? To never give up. ELA Masters, take a minute to make sure that you're scrolling through and that you have all of the answers from our STORY planners. You should also be double checking to see if you filled out all the boxes of anything you missed in your STORY planners that you wrote yourself. When you're finished, go ahead and click Next.